so that's pretty good. So we've got core support still in. That's what this is called here, the core support. Basically, all of the weight of the front of the car hangs on literally this right here. And there's 2 bolts under here that frame or hang the fenders to the frame of the car. And so we'll get the core support off. We'll pull the radiator. We're going to go through here and we'll separate all of these little bolts here for the inner fenders. We'll pull all the inner fenders out, pull the core support, and we'll take out these fresh air vents, and then that'll give us access directly to the motor. We'll pull the hood off, and then we may just go ahead and pull the motor out. Who knows? All right, folks, I'm going to show you a little trick I learned from an old timer. That's a piece of rebar, and on one end I've drilled out a little recess, and on the other end I've made it pointy and file it to one side, and it's got a little groove in it. And when you start to take the hood springs off of these cars, if you don't have something, let me show you this too. It needs to be exactly 14 3/4, call it 7/8 and total length. Now, when you take that little guy, you bring it over to your car. In order to get these hood springs off, it's a real stinker. People have really lost some fingers trying to do this, but when you fish that thing down through your spring and then you let that little groove set on top of that spring, just like that, it's got to sit on the outside. You let the inside just kind of dangle just a little bit. Now, when you lower your hood, it's going to compress the spring. Hang on 1 second. Okay. So when you lower the hood, and I'm lowering it, the spring is stretching. And what you want is to get it to the very perfect spot. Gotta put it just like that. And we raise the hood back up, and it starts to shorten the spring. It's going to catch in that little spot. Now, as you do this, your hood weight is going to completely come off of that spring. Now watch what it does. You see that? And I unhooked it. Now all you gotta do is lower your hood down. Now, I said that. Easier said than done with one spring left on it. Always have a hood prop available for just such an emergency. But then when you get your spring off on the top, you come back down to the bottom, and all you gotta do is that right there, and that's your spring. Now, I'll show you this at a later date, but I've built this little rack, and what you do is you hook your spring on both ends with this kind of configuration. Hook your spring to one end, hook your spring to the other end, and then you use the thread as you tighten it to stretch it, and you can take it off of this piece of steel. But that's how you get the springs off of these cars. I'll show you. That's the picture of the rack that I built. You see I've already pulled the post out. You get it just the right size. See, that was right inside there. Just like that. You want to make sure if you build this rack that you've got enough length, because you're going to have to let this all the way back out in order to get that spring out of there. Well, all right. Had a pretty good day's worth of work. We got all of the front end off the car. We got both the fenders and the inner fenders out. We got the core support and radiator out. We got the grill out. We got the splash guard between the grill and the bumper out. Those bumper bolts are pretty well fused on there. May have to torch those off. Got both sides, the hood, all the fenders. We got a whole big stack of parts out here to go through. These all just get cleaned up and gone through, straightened where they're dented, and probably get a new radiator. Actually, that is a newish radiator. I may just clean it up and see what kind of shape it's in. It doesn't have any scratches on it, or doesn't seem to have any gunk inside it, but a pretty good day.